case of
Welcome to Chentex Multimedia, streaming live to you all the way from Brisbane, and it is wonderful to have your company. Hope you all had a great weekend. Well, Brisbane has been abuzz, yes, abuzz with activities. There have been so many functions and events that have started taking place. But of course, we know today in breaking news is the, we talked about PA Hospital on Saturday. And of course, the news that's coming in today is about Grand Chancellor. We'll look at all of those. We'll also look at the announcement by our Premier very, very soon as well. But before we do that, let's go in and take a very quick look at what's happening with the weather. And with that, let's welcome to Dilraj.
Good morning, everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 23 degree. Brisbane area is cloudy with very high chance of showers tending to rain at times. Light winds becoming southeasterly 15 to 20 km per hour and then becoming light in the late afternoon. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 3:30 and UV index is predicted to reach 11, that is extreme. Till tomorrow, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
And thank you very much for that update, Dilraj. As we now talking about what's happening out there, let's take a very quick look at the news in brief. And after that, we will be joining Queensland Premier with an update on what's happening on the situation. Queensland health authorities are investigating whether a COVID-19 infected traveller in hotel quarantine has links to an infected Brisbane hospital doctor. So that is under investigation at this point in time. The traveller was staying at the Grand Chancellor on the same floor at the time as another infected traveller who's now at the Princess Alexandra Hospital. That patient had contact with a doctor who later became infected with coronavirus, forcing the hospital into lockdown. Case 1 is the patient brought into the hospital on the 9th of March. Case 2 was the doctor who got it from the patient who came in on the 9th, says Minister Yvette Dart. Case 3 is a patient in hotel quarantine on the same floor as case 1. She said officials are now accessing CCTV footage to try and identify why this transmission might have occurred. The hotel has been locked down and guests and staff have been prevented from leaving, and no new guests are being taken in onto the site. So, this is investigations that's all taking place. Meanwhile, 238 people linked to the infected doctor have been traced with coronavirus due to the, back, and they are undergoing tests, as Sonia Bennett said. Right now, Australia joins US, India and Japan in unprecedented deal for coronavirus vaccines after the historic Quad meeting. The leaders outlined and planned to lift COVID-19 vaccine production and distribution. The goal is to increase production to 1 billion doses by 2022 to benefit Asia-Pacific nations. Prime Minister receives his second dose of Pfizer vaccine with 86-year-old Jane Milsiak. Prime Minister was given Pfizer's jab last month at a medical centre in Sydney and returned today to get the next dose. And travel turbulence. A former boyfriend of a woman who alleged she was raped by Christian Porter has came forward. It's fueled and calls for inquiry as thousands of women prepare to march for justice. The Prime Minister has tried to draw on the focus back to economic recovery. But even a plan to offer cheap flights to help the struggling tourism sector hit immediate turbulence. And the Prime Minister rules out attending the march set to take place outside Parliament House. The Prime Minister says he's happy to meet with the organisers of the march and hear what they have to say. An iconic 1940s steam locomotive returns to Sydney train network, meeting Maka in Tamburumungka. Comedian Magda Suvansi and Will Conley, aka Egg Boy, meet farmer Maka McPherson 1 year from the historic bushfires. The memories of losing his cattle on the fires still haunts Maka. Polling shows opposition leader Zack Kirep would lose his seat. Labor is expected to claim landslide win in Western Australia. Premier Mac McGowan says he is one of the most important elections in living memory. New South Wales shark attack, woman in hospital, and beaches closed around south coast of Merimbula. Main beach at Merimbula is now closed for 24 hours. And infamous solar winds attack started with just two simple mistakes. The solar winds attack is believed to be the biggest and the most sophisticated hacking breach in the world. The crazy thing is that it all started with two simple mistakes that led thousands of hackers through the door and into the most important servers on the planet. Huge companies like Microsoft and Google were compromised, along with important organizations like the US Department of Homeland Security and UK's National Health Service. So who is behind it and how did they do it? That's an ongoing question. Remembrance held into the service after 2 years of mosque gathering. A remembrance service has been held to mark the 2 years since Christchurch terror attack. Londoners staged demonstration after vigil response. And London police are to meet after the Parliament House and met with police headquarters in the Parliament after police clashed with women at a vigil at the night before. And London police under intense scrutiny over handling of an unofficial vigil. And it was posted on social media, so police are pushing and detaining people as they attempted to break the crowds which had gathered the park in the south of the city, where the murdered woman Sarah Everhead had disappeared. And Metropolitan Police Chief defends the response by the vigil. And the Chief of London's Metropolitan Police has defended her force's action during a vigil for Sarah Everhead, a woman who is one of the force's officers accused of murdering. UK police clashed with the mourners at that vigil, as I've mentioned before. And the vigil in honour of the murdered 33-year-old turned violent after police cracked down on thousands of attendees defying COVID-19 restrictions. Amina recounts the horrific event that made her realize she had to leave Syria. So those are the news in brief, and as I mentioned before, that right now we will go and join our Premier to look at that very, very important update on what's happening in Brisbane following the Prince Alexandra Hospital lockdown and now the Grand Chancellor. We are ready.
Case of community transmission. But I don't want everyone to be alarmed at present. We've got some detailed contact tracing happening, and you'll hear very shortly from Dr. Bennett, who will give you more details about where this doctor has been in the community. The doctor has spent limited time in the community, so that's also another positive for us. We have had 5,657 tests in the past 24 hours, and our vaccination rates at the moment, we're up to 18,411, but our Health Minister, Yvette Darke, will give us an update about vaccinations. So last night we were advised of this new case. It is a doctor who assessed 2 COVID positive patients on Wednesday. Now, as everyone knows, we are seeing more people testing positive in hotel quarantine coming in from overseas, which of course we know that our hotel quarantine is that last line of defence. But then we move the positive cases into the hospital. So we know that this doctor who assessed these 2 COVID positive patients was at the hospital at the time. Now, she developed symptoms on Thursday and returned a positive test late yesterday. Now, the patients she was treating have the UK strain, but we do not yet know if the doctor has that same strain, but we are expecting that to be the case. So contact tracing is underway. Dr Bennett will talk in more detail and give the public some details about that. But now what we're asking everyone to do is that all hospitals, aged care and disability services in the Greater Brisbane will be closed to visitors, and anyone going inside would have to wear a mask in those places. So this includes Brisbane, Ipswich, Logan, Moreton Bay and Redlands. And of course this is precautionary measures that we are taking now, especially over the next 72 hours. So there is no need for the public in general to be wearing masks. We will be assessing this each day, especially over the next 72 hours, to see if we have any further community spread. But Dr Bennett will explain that this has been very quick from the contact to the diagnosis, and unlike when we had the cleaner out in the public for, I think it was for 5 days, this doctor has not been out in the community for a long period of time. It's been very short and very limited in her contacts. So we'll be talking about that a little bit further. So look, I'll hand over to Dr Bennett and then our Health Minister, and then we're happy to take some questions. Dr Bennett.
Thank you, Premier. Good morning, everyone. So just to reiterate, we have a doctor at the PA hospital who has tested positive to COVID-19. That particular doctor was managing 2 patients that we know were confirmed to have COVID, and that was in the early hours of Wednesday morning. She did a subsequent shift at the PA hospital later that day into Thursday evening, and then late Thursday developed some very mild symptoms, and on waking Friday morning had a sore throat and did exactly the right thing and went and got tested immediately Friday morning, and the result was returned late Friday. So as you can see, a very quick chain of events, and we really want to thank that doctor for coming forward quickly and getting tested. Having said that, we do have a little bit of work to do with respect to contact tracing. So whilst she wasn't symptomatic when she was working at the hospital, we still, as you know, take a period before the onset of symptoms as being potentially infectious, and so there will be a big exercise in contact tracing underway at the moment as we speak at the PA hospital, identifying all residents, or all patients I should say, and all staff who may have been in contact with the doctor during that time, and they will be managed appropriately depending on what contact they had, with some staff going into quarantine or patients and some being tested. So there's a lot of work to do over the next 24 hours. With respect to the community, the person was infectious in the community on Thursday afternoon and evening, and we will publish those sites shortly, but just so you are aware now, there are 3 high-risk sites. One is the Morning After Cafe at West End, where the person was there present from 2 p.m. to 3:15. Now the good news is, as the Premier said, there's only been a short period of time infectious in community, and apparently the person was sitting outside as well, so following all the COVID safe rules, so we can all be assured about that, and we should be fairly easily be able to identify through the contact tracing app who was also there at that time, and Public Health will be in contact with those people, and they'll be going into quarantine as well. The other sites are the Corporate Box Gym at Greenslopes, where the person attended between 5:45 and 7 p.m. And again, anyone there at the same time, and we understand there are in the vicinity of about 11 people, will go into quarantine. And Stones Corner Hotel at Stones Corner that evening between 7 and 7:45 p.m. Now, all those venues are being very cooperative with public health, and again, a large amount of contact tracing going on as we speak, and we'll know more about the number of contacts in the next 24 to 48 hours. There are a couple of low-risk venues, and one is McDonald's at Cooperoo between 3:10 and 3:20, where the case did drive through, so that's what we would call low risk, and anyone there around that time will just be asked to monitor symptoms and get tested. But also the gym after 7 p.m. when the case left. We know that gyms are high risk and that transmission has occurred in gyms. So anybody who was there after 7 p.m, even though the person had left the gym, will be asked to monitor that for symptoms closely and get tested. So I think the community can be reassured that there's a lot of work going on, and because this has happened so quickly and we've really, the doctor presented and was tested quickly, and we've got the information about where she's been, anyone who is potentially exposed will be going into quarantine and managed, and we hope to prevent any further transmission in the community. Having said that, we all still need to remember that COVID is still with us, and so we have had an infectious case in community, and we just have to remind the public, anyone with any symptoms, no matter how mild, please go along and get tested. That really supports the efforts of the health staff and the public health staff and everybody else across government in helping to contain any community transmission. And just remember those things about using the COVID Safe app, checking in when you go into venues, physical distancing, hand washing, and all those sensible things that we know the community has been doing for some time. So thank you. I'll hand over to the author.
So we are taking measures, as we announced last night, in relation to PA Hospital as well, so restricting non-essential visitors, also looking at any release of patients, first identifying whether they have been in contact with this doctor, and we are looking at any redirection through the Queensland Ambulance Service. That's worked very well overnight. We are still taking walk-in to the emergency department, but we are saying that if you can go to your GP or another emergency department, we ask you to do that. But of course, each incident is being assessed as to suitability to be treated at the PA or whether they should be referred elsewhere. We will closely monitor our testing clinics so that if there is any surges, we are standing up and we are ready to stand up extra capacity if needed. We do have a testing clinic at the PA hospital, but I've asked Health to have a look at whether we should have another one in the surrounding area as well, so that people who are coming forward to get tested will be waiting the least amount of time as possible, but everyone should expect, as we had before, that there may be some long lines, and be prepared for that if you're coming forward and getting tested.
Coming forward and getting tested, as we know that the testing stations have been set all around Brisbane, and they are doing a wonderful job, and as the Minister said, that we need to be very careful that the COVID is still here. It's not gone, and people should, be very careful in the movements, and even attending functions and events, as people have started doing. I have started doing. You still need to be very, very careful, and of course observe all those rules. Well, right now, before we go into the rest of the news and some of the local events and the coverage, let's take a look at our sponsors.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
and real estate is the world. And don't forget that on Wednesday, we'll bring to you the live updates right here with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty. And she will be bringing to you everything on real estate, all the updates, market trends, and of course, looking at what's happening. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot that's happening out there with real estate at this way. You don't want to miss out this Wednesday's updates. Well, right now, let's take a look at the Columbian Festival. And boy, oh boy, do the Columbians know how to party? Yes, they do. An event which was held at RNA Showgrounds, and of course, normally it's like a big street party in the city, but under the COVID restrictions it took place, but it did take place, and here's the parade, and all of us as the VIPs were asked to join into the parade as well. As you can see, there's a lot of work going on in the background. Yes, that's where the entrance was normally, but this gate has been closed, so we had to all come in through gate 5, which is on the other side. And this is where normally the German festival, Oktoberfest, and the Ensemble takes place as well. Quite similar to India Day Fair, they start off with a parade with all the VIPs who are following the parade. Just being down in Jamaica and Rio de Janeiro, and the weather stood out for them as well, so it was good to see so many people came out, and right after the VIP welcome and the official opening, there were so many people out of the street just pouring in. And as I mentioned before, if there's one group that knows how to party, it's this group. So Brisbane is a kaleidoscope of cultures, and it is wonderful to see all cultures coming together. And that was the Columbian Festival, which was held at the RNA Showgrounds. And once again, as I mentioned before, that it's wonderful to see that many people came and all very well behaved, of course, in a very, very happy and festival mood, as they do, being a festive, very well known for their festivals and for the Latin style and the salsa music and everything, so that goes with it. So it was very, very good. And as we know, that all the members of the Multicultural Roundtable of Lord Mayor, where most of them were present there on a special invitation as well. Well, right now, we're going to talk about the other function that we supported, which was a Garland of languages, and once again very well presented and a wonderful event. It took place at BMEC, where a garland of languages, meaning many different languages all woven together in the single string of music, and it was presented by BMEC and Dr. Charula Tamani was the artistic director of that, and it was very well put together. And once we get hold of we have finished downloading the main actual video, we will probably show you lots more of the glimpses. But today, we just want to show you glimpses of what actually happened there and what took place. With that, let's go over to the Queensland Multicultural Centre to the BMEC Live event, a Garland of languages. And the delightful MCs. Stage is all set up to roll. I must add that the musicians were all very high class, especially the mirdangam and the violin, Ashwin, and they are excellent. They joined in as well. They joined in together with Ravi Kes and Parminder. So as I mentioned before, we will So, ladies and gentlemen, we did get a glimpse of all three of them and their singing styles. And as I said, once we have downloaded the proper video, we will show you a version of that, and we'll probably do it as a presentation. So that would be wonderful to see, because it was a very, very good event and very well put together and very well and very professionally run, I must say. And all the feedback that came in afterwards during the short question and answer session, you could see that people were obviously very pleased with that. But when we talk about language and when we talk about India being such a big country, such a diverse country, so many different languages, there's so many other flowers that we're missing from the garland. And that void might be filled up in the next function or the next event. Well, right now, let's take a very quick look at some of the functions and events taking place right here in Brisbane, because as I mentioned, events have started taking place once again, and there's no shortage of events. So, do go and support the ones that you can. And of course, you'll need to make sure that you are taking the precautions as we mentioned, and as we can see by those two cases which have just sprung up in Queensland. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, that there's so many functions and events taking place right now in Brisbane. Do log on to our website or subscribe to our the EDM. And you will be notified of functions and events that are taking place in Brisbane, most of the ones. If you'd like to pick up the copy of your Brisbane Indian Times, it's out in circulation. And as I could see, many people at many of the functions already had copies this weekend, so which is good to see. So the March issue is out, and you can pick up your copies. Or, of course, if you'd rather read online, it is available online as well. And if you'd like to be on this show, all you need to do is just send us a message via the message section or the comment section, and we'll gladly have you on show. And of course, one of the other functions that took place on the weekend was the Senior Citizens, so Indian Senior Citizens Association and Ekta Women's Group. They had the International Women's Day with our Honorary Council for India in Queensland, Mrs. Archana Singh Ji, as the chief guest, and we'll bring to you glimpses and clips of that tomorrow. So that's something to look forward to, as that's all we have time for today. It's wonderful to have your company as usual. It's so good to see you. And of course, if you have any suggestions that we might take on board, we quite gladly welcome that, and we're looking forward to that. So once again, it's been wonderful having your company. Until tomorrow, enjoy the rest of your day, but most importantly, do keep up those precautions and remain safe. See you tomorrow.